no pain, no gain. So you have to go through a transformation process, like a metamorphosis, like a caterpillar to a butterfly. You have to go into that direction, because if we are, as a society, as an economy, as the world, are going back to what we did, we can predict that the next crisis will happen again in a couple of years from now.
We have the pleasure of welcoming Paul Epping today to our interview series. I'm Sumita Mariam from the peopleHum team. Before we begin, just a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and the video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year, and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest, Paul Epping is the co-founder and chairman of Exponential. He is a global keynote speaker and his interests include exponential technologies, information security, and market consulting. He's a trusted coach and provides consulting for companies on exponential technologies and its impacts. We are extremely happy and honored to have someone of his stature on our interview series today. Welcome, Paul. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you so much. Very welcome to have a talk and to have a conversation with you about things that are extremely of interest now for people, for individuals, but also for economies and governments.
It's absolutely our pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And starting off with the first question I have for you, can you tell us a little bit about your journey? You had an incredible journey. What brought you to EQ Exponential?
Yeah, that's a long story, and it brought me actually to this point because I'm involved for most of my life in technology and technology related areas, and part of that is in healthcare tech. I've been CIO in several big hospitals, and I studied information technology, and so it's all those things together. I made a couple of discoveries, and that is already the late 20th century, that I saw the things changing pretty quickly, but I couldn't grasp it. I couldn't really figure out what was going on, and then I discovered the work of Ray Kurzweil, and he is an inventor. People say that he is the second Einstein, but an incredibly brilliant person. He invented the synthesizer, for instance, and OCR, the text recognition, and he published a white paper. The law of accelerating is returning, or returns, and that was for me a kind of an eye opener. I thought, well, that gives me the tool set to see actually that technology, specifically computational power, is doubling every 1.5 years roughly, based on Moore's law. But he reasoned that back until the beginning of the 20th century, up to the end of the 20th century, and the principle actually is that the computational power is increasing, whereas the price performance is dropping, and that is a repetitive pattern, and it goes faster and faster, and that is the very nature of what we call today exponential technologies, because that is the engine that exponential technologies could flourish. And today we see the best example of that in artificial intelligence, that is already over 70 years out there, but we didn't have the computational power to do the calculations. So I saw that, and then I met Ray Kurzweil. So then I read his book, The Singularity is Near, published in 2005. And I met him in 2008, and he announced there that he and co-founder Peter Diamandis would start the Singularity University. So I was one of the first who went there, And that was actually a confirmation of what I saw around me. And now I had the vocabulary to talk about it, to also express it to other people, and could change my thinking about it. And so I had a long career in keynote speaking. And what I discovered, and I worked in big companies, or for big companies, tech companies, and combining that experience in big companies and the keynotes that I did and the discussions with the audience, is that people don't have really an understanding about what's going on in terms of technology. The speed in which things are changing is underestimated. And so that led, long story short, to the decision that I started with my good friend and co-founder Tarek Qureshi, is a futurist, our new company at the beginning of last year, and to help companies to understand and to adapt to that fast changing technological world. And so we do that with all kind of offerings, but the focus is on that, creating the awareness and help companies with tool sets to adapt to that fast changing world. That's basically where we are at the moment.
That's quite a wonderful journey you've had right there. Like each point where you learn something new and move forward with it. That's amazing. And what exactly is the objective, of a mass transformation, and what are the key elements that go into it?
Yeah, so what we have seen, probably, if I understand you well, you are pointing at the massive transformative purpose. Um, so I think, so firstly, the, the, the exponential technologies do have the potential to disrupt. Well, the best example is, of course, our smartphones. Um the smartphones literally disrupt the way we are communicating, the way we are using information, and also to help us to organize our daily life a little bit. A lot of health apps are out there helping us to monitor ourselves, etc. And that is massive. So over 4 or 5 billion people today are using mobile devices. And that is still uh, increasing. So that will be really massive. I think in 2025, where 2 to 3 billion new minds are entering the internet, and if they are going to communicate and exchange information, that is also a massive transformation. And those people who are entering in the next couple of years the internet, they are not doing that with 3G or whatever. They are immediately jumping into 5G. And that brings a completely new equation to what we call massive transformation. Um, so think about that all those new minds, because we have the tools, we have open platforms, are going to exchange new ideas. That melt pot will lead to new insights, and people, brilliant people who are not able to join for a variety of reasons the internet, are then are capable to join, because the price dramatically drops. That is what we see. That is the consequence of exponential technologies, that the price is dropping. And that leads to another thing in our economy, but that is probably for a later discussion, is that deflates our economy, because it's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. We see that, for instance, Airbnb is a perfect example. Um, for Airbnb to add a new room to their portfolio is practically at zero cost. If Marriott wants to add a new room, they have to build a new hotel. Well, you are a couple of years down the road and way more expensive. So that deflates the hotel business. Uber, the same with deflating the taxi business, etc. So the new technology and the driver is computational power, makes this happen that it will be adopted to a lot of people, and that opens completely new perspectives. So that's massive.
Oh, that's very insightful, and that's a very thought-provoking answer. And change is something that is the only thing that is constant everywhere. So when do you think organizations find a need to change the way they do things, or maybe adopt new age practices or exponential technologies for a change?
Well, if an organization sits idle, they are out of business.
Yeah.
And as simple as that. So you cannot not move on. You cannot not change. Um, as a saying, today is the slowest day for the rest of your life. That means that tomorrow you have to do things differently. You cannot, companies based on the principles of the 20th century are doomed to fail in the 21st century. And that is what we are seeing. The big Fortune 500 companies are struggling big time now because they are not really have a portfolio that is diverse, and they are also not digitized yet. Only the companies that are from, let's say, the foundation up are digitized are the survivors and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Not that that is a good thing, but that is a consequence of the fact that you are digitized versus that you are not digitized, and are changing your offerings and products incrementally, but you are staying in the realm of what you are doing. So, per definition, that is not diversing, and those companies are going to struggle. That is what I see, and because of what I just said, the the rate of exponential change in itself is exponential, in itself accelerates. Uh, I coined this century zip 21. If you unzip it, we have 20,000 years of technological development. So if you are sitting idle for 1 year, well, you're losing basically 5, 6 years. So that's where we are in now, and that requires, and the problems that we see today around us of an exponential nature. And you me, if, for instance, linear thinking is, if I make 30 steps, then I know where I am at 5 steps, 10 steps, 15 steps, and I know about where I am at 30 steps. And it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. If I do that in the exponential world, then it is 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, etc. And by step 30, I'm 26 times around the world. That's the difference. Or if I fold a little paper, this paper, 50 times, if I would able to do that 50 times, if I'm at folding 49 and I do the less folding to 50, I reach I reach a distance from halfway from the Earth to the Sun to the Sun. And so if I fold it less than 1 millimeter thickness 50 times, I'm at the Sun. That's exponential growth because the doublings is what we underestimate.
Yeah. So, do you also think that, for exponential growth of an organization, of course, you need the employees to exponentially think. So, do you think that being creative and innovative and
Yeah.
giving them the space to facilitate that exponential thinking is quite important for
Yeah.
that organization to have an exponential growth?
Yeah, I mean, the basic is that you understand the exponential thinking. So the change at that rate, and um, Gutenberg. You ever heard about Gutenberg? That is the person in the 15th century who invented the book print press. So, and that was the start of, let's say, spreading information in printed format around the world. So it took a couple of ages before that was, well, available everywhere. And that was a kind of a signal that that not a signal, that was a an invention that changed the world, that changed the world of information. But it took a couple of ages. Today we have about 20 exponential technologies hitting at the same time our society. So we have now 20 Gutenberg moments at the same time, but not at the pace as what the Gutenberg press was, but at the pace of exponential growth. And those, I would say, those exponential technologies are merging, are intersecting, are converging. And that convergence accelerates in itself again. That leads to new products, that leads to new um, um, solutions. If you, for instance, merge artificial intelligence with nanotechnology and robot technology, you get something like nanobots, things that you cannot see with your eye, but do have a lot of intelligence on board. And imagine what you can do on that scale with robots on that scale. Well, you can release them in your body and they can clean your body from inside out, right? Um, and so forth. There are a lot of examples that are happening at the moment. Gene editing, for instance, it was a couple of years ago, nobody heard about it, but today children are playing in the garage with gene editing toolkits, and changing things, which which also is dangerous. But the fact that we are merging a lot of technologies and even on a micro and nano scale, we are able to do amazing things. Um, yeah, and that is where we are at the moment.
That's great. That's wonderful. And putting it that way, it sounds very interesting to explore that area. And also, technology when it comes to people managing. So, in an organization where you manage a lot of people in human resources, how do you think we can adopt technology to improve the engagement and a better experience for people working in an organization?
So a lot of modern organizations, what we call exponential organizations, are using social technologies like Slack or WhatsApp or whatever. But for the company itself, so not that it is all open for everybody. So that technology can be easily used, and it helps us. There are examples of companies that don't allow any more emails because it's too much time. Um, when I was, for instance, years ago, when I was CIO in several hospitals in the Netherlands, and I started my job, I called all the team together and I said, guys, we are using email, but if I get an email longer than 10 sentences, I don't read it. And so make your point in less than 10 sentences. Because if you get hundreds of emails a day, you are reading all day and you cannot do your work properly, I guess. So that is one thing. But the other thing is what we have to be really cautious with, and that's my caveat in using in HR technology, is your digital assistants. And your digital assistants are telling you what I have to do, or tell me what I have to do. They are keeping my agenda, and that is connected to HR departments, that is connected to my insurance company, that is connected to whoever is interested in my daily pattern. Did you sleep enough? Did you do your exercises enough? Were you in time, or did you do your work that you are supposed to do? And can you prove that? So all kind of those things can be merged in a digital assistant, and that digital assistant give you a perfect, I would say, picture, an image of your daily things that you are doing, um, and that can be your prison in the end. Or for some people, it can be a freedom, but it depends on how you are going to use it. And firstly, it likes people are in an amazing are in in an awe state, oh, is that possible? Oh, that is fantastic. Then they get addicted to that. And once you are addicted, well, it's really hard to not use your digital assistant, because you are lost. But then it can become toxic. And once it becomes toxic, and imagine that in a HR department, you are more and more um, pressed yourself because the adrenaline or whatever to do those controls. And I think that is not a good scenario. Moreover, it takes the creativity out of people. And because now they have to follow the rules of people you are working for, and and that is all based on output. My output is an old rule. My output is more important than my input. And so how do you organize proper input for the purpose of that organization?
That's a wonderful answer. And what do you think? How are we going to change? Do you think there is a change that is awaiting us once we come out of the pandemic in the way we work and the way we get to life after all the social distancing and the lockdowns are over? Do you think we are going to go back to office and be the same?
I think there will be a lot of tensions. So I hear a lot, and I I was one of the first who coined it. This, the coronavirus is a reset. And then after I said it to myself, I thought that is not a good thing, because a reset means that you are going back to what it was. And I think that that will not happen. But there will be a fight, because people know what the normal was, but they don't know what the new normal will be and how that looks like. They have to build that. And that doesn't go without any struggle. Um, no pain, no pain, no gain. So you have to go through a transformation process, like a metamorphosis, like a caterpillar to a butterfly. You have to go into that direction, because if we are, as a society, as an economy, as the world, are going back to what we did, we can predict that the next crisis will happen again in a couple of years from now. Um, you don't need a college to understand that. Moreover, the way we organized ourselves and the vulnerabilities of that has been revealed by this little virus. We are completely disintegrated. We are not aligned with each other. People are not prepared to continue their work in a different way. Um, there is no safety net. Companies didn't build a kind of a safety net and are now in deep trouble. And again, economies are propping the economy with a lot of new money that is printed, causing inflation. And the money that is now pumped into the economy basically goes to the big companies. And what about all those little entrepreneurs, startups, etc.? There will be, well, they are going bankrupt, and that is what we see today. So, because we are trying to go back to what was, instead of using the crisis to come up with something new, to do new things. This crisis has so many opportunities. I haven't been, never in my whole life, so busy as during this crisis, with all kind of new opportunities. And the world is full of opportunities, but you have to see it. And you have to be able to think, let's say, 3, 5, 10 years ahead, how things are going to change. But the main, let's say, the main answer to your question, we are not, I think we are not going back to what it was. A little example, and then we can move on to the next question. We are using Zoom now. So I was one of the people who was the first who was using Zoom. There were not that many people. So we were struggling with the platform, etc. But anyway, so at a certain moment, just short before the crisis hit, Zoom had about 10 million users. In less than a couple of weeks, it grew to 250 million. So don't think that it will ever go back to the 10 million. But what it does is, like we are talking to each other, we can see each other, we can record it, we can do a lot of things, we can edit what we were talking about. But what we also do is using it for offices purposes. So people are now meeting each other via Zoom, board meetings, team meetings, the whole day on, and you are now flexible to do that. So the question now is, do we need all those offices? Do we need the spaces that we are now using to meet each other? Do we need the big hotels for conferences, whereas we can have conferences online? So those kind of effects will be causing tensions with the old economy. So there will be a lot of strugglings, um, uh, and companies are not. If you are going to a seminar, you don't need to travel. You can do it at home. So that will be also a pressure on the the air companies, the airplane companies, the taxi companies, the public transportation, etc., etc. So it has a kind of a domino effect, and that is what we see everywhere, um, and that will lead to tension for sure.
You framed that answer so well that, after listening to it, I have a strong feeling in me that, there is going to be come out of this. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And also, when we think of the financial crisis that's coming up, and we have a lot of millennials who have started to work, and the Gen Z workforce and everything, and with them we have the gig economy rising. So do you think with this current situation the gig economy is here to stay?
Oh yeah, that will soar. I 100% sure, because now we can. I basically do my work online. We already did the work online for 60% or so, but now it's 100%. Um, that is one thing, and I can basically offer or execute my work for companies or people on the other side of the world. It doesn't matter. So I am what we call a digital nomad. So it doesn't it doesn't matter where I am. I can do my work because I organize my work digitally. And a lot of modern entrepreneurs and startups, they build their company from scratch digitally. So that means that they are very flexible. They can scale easily. I can add new clients to my portfolio without any whatever. I have the contracts, everything digitized. So it's just a hit on a button and out. That's all very easy today. And we don't need to travel. We can basically do our work from home. And I can organize a big conference of over 1,000 people in my kitchen here, where I'm sitting, and the whole world can join that. The tools are out there. It's not that expensive, and it will be cheaper and cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah, that's wonderful. This is one of my personal favorite questions to ask when I have a chance to talk with the, the people who make a difference, because I get a lot of perspectives, especially on the gig economy. Most people have the idea that it is here to stay, but how is the, question? So I really like your answer. And uh, Paul, just to wrap up the interview, if you have any last sound bites that you would like to leave our audience.
So I think for the audience, this crisis, hopefully it opened your eyes in what has to be changed in the world. What would you do tomorrow differently, based on what you see around And that can be the media, that can be how hospitals are struggling with taking care of patients, how transportation is organized, how we are communicating, etc., etc., etc. And then on top of that, the exponential technologies that are available. What could you do with those kind of new insights to build your own business or to change the work in your company um, in such a way that you are more adaptable, that you diversify yourself in the offerings that you are doing. And in our company, we build a lot of tool sets and we build a lot of, let's say, online tools and workshops that helps companies to make that change. And so we see so many opportunities now, and that is the positive thing that I would share with you. Open your eyes, look around. What is not good, in my opinion, and how can I change that? And get together with a couple of people and work on ideas because those ideas are so important. Uh, and I bet there will be a lot of interesting ideas coming out that will have the potential to to hit the market and will break through existing establishments that are proven not functioning. Let us be honest. Uh, and the other thing is that if I also can give you a hint, take a look at the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. Those are the 17 big problems in the world that we have to figure out, that we have to solve to make this world a better place to live. And just take a look at that and then make the combination with your own observations of things that could be changed. And once you combine those, and the problem is really big, then your opportunity are really big and our opportunities are really big. And that is a new way of thinking. That is exponential thinking, and that is the way to go. So I'm very optimistic about where we are going. We have to be very cautious at the same time because that tension can be really a tough thing. And I cannot predict where it, in what side it's in what direction it will go, but it will have a lot of tensions in the next decade, I think. Um, yeah, but be positive. If your mindset is positive, you see positive things to change.
That's a great last piece of advice. And for the last 30-35 minutes was an absolute pleasure for me to listen to you, and it was a very enriching experience for me personally because someone who is so in the beginning stages of a career, talking to someone like you is a different experience for us, listening it to you one on one rather than reading a book. It's truly insightful. Thank you so much for that, and I wish you all safety and health.
Yeah, and your listeners, if you want to link on LinkedIn, for instance, please feel free because I'm posting a lot of these kind of insights on LinkedIn. And yeah, take whatever you need and stay safe, stay healthy. And it was a pleasure to share some of my ideas with you.
Yes, have a healthy safety time ahead of you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.